How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, ladies and gentlemen across the fruited plain, it is an Open Line Friday here at the Eric Erickson Show, where even in Orlando last night I was asked, is Eric Erickson your real name? Yes, it is. Looking forward to stepping out across the country. By the way, I gotta say, yesterday was extremely an emotional afternoon. I'm just overwhelmed with the good news about my kid and her genetic testing. She didn't have the gene mutations that my wife does. And then Governor Greg Abbott in Texas just very kindly, completely unsolicited, unprompted, I was completely thrown off guard and floored, put up a very nice video welcoming me to Texas, to KJC in Austin, Texas, our first Texas affiliate. It was great. I was so... just absolutely floored by his kindness to do that. So thank you, Governor Abbott. I want to step back to what I was just talking about. It is an Open Line Friday. I will get to your phone calls, but I got to talk about this while it's in my head because it really blows my mind. If you're just tuning in here to the Eric Erickson Show, the very last segment, students at the University of California, Berkeley Law School who are pro-Palestine have released a statement demanding that the University of California re-educate Dean Erwin Chemerinsky about the First Amendment because they say Dean Erwin Chemerinsky violated their First Amendment rights. He had a group of people at his home. They showed up and began hogging the microphone, protesting Palestine, making anti-Semitic remarks about the dean being Jewish. He and his wife had them thrown out. They claim it was a violation of the First Amendment rights, that it was of an open forum, and they demand the University of California re-educate the dean of the law school. The problem, if you were here, is literally the foremost authority in the United States. And when I say literally, I mean literally the foremost authority in the United States on the First Amendment is Dean Erwin Chemerinsky. I still have my First Amendment law textbook from law school that he wrote. And if you go to law school and you take a class on the First Amendment, you get his textbook. It is, a buddy of mine texted me during commercial break and said, just for my own information, it is the most cited third-party work on the First Amendment by the United States Supreme Court. If you read, for those of you who don't understand why this is such a big deal, if you read a Supreme Court case on the First Amendment, it's going to cite Erwin Chemerinsky's book on the First Amendment more likely than not. That's how big a deal it is when these students say you got to re-educate the dean on what is and isn't the First Amendment. He didn't write the First Amendment. He just happened to write the textbook about the First Amendment. It's mind-blowing. It's great. Seriously, husbands and wives, when you get home at night or you have a friend who's a lawyer, you could just ask them, what do you think about students at the University of California telling the University of California they need to re-educate Erwin Chemerinsky on the First Amendment? They're probably going to laugh immediately. They'll get the joke. I mean, this guy literally did write the book we all learned from in law school if you took the First Amendment. It's insane. But that gets me to the Columbia University. More than 100 people were arrested by New York Police Department officers on a preliminary charge of criminal trespass, according to a law enforcement official, as police entered Columbia University on Thursday to disperse a pro-Palestinian protest that began a day earlier, as the university's president testified before a House committee about the school's response to anti-Semitism. The individuals were detained with no resistance, and the university is named as a complainant since the incident occurred on its property. Columbia President Nemat Shafik was in Washington, D.C., testifying to the House Education Committee as the protesters, including students, faculty, and others, gathered in Upper Manhattan early Wednesday morning, setting up tents and signs. Later that afternoon, competing rallies of pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian groups grew. Several people waving Palestinian flags had verbal confrontations with police officers who had begun boxing the protesters in with barricades, CNN affiliate WCBS reported. In video from WCBS, pro-Palestinian protesters could be seen clashing with police, and some had lit small fires. One woman could be seen in handcuffs. 4 people were arrested overnight during protests at Columbia, the New York police said. Police did not specify the charges. Now, there's a statement from Columbia's president. This morning, I had to make a decision that I hope would never be necessary. I have always said that the safety of our community was my top priority and that we needed to preserve an environment where everyone could learn in a supportive context. Out of an abundance of concern for the safety of Columbia's campus, I authorized the New York Police Department to begin clearing the encampment from the south lawn of Morningside campus that had been set up by students in the early hours of Wednesday morning. I took this extraordinary step because these are extraordinary circumstances. The individuals who established the encampment violated a long list of rules and policies. Through direct conversations and in writing, the university provided multiple notices of these violations, including a written warning at 7:15 p.m. on Wednesday, notifying students who remained in the encampment as of 9 p.m. that they would face suspension pending investigation. We also tried through a number of channels to engage with their concerns and offer to continue discussions if they dispersed. I regret that all of these attempts to resolve the situation were rejected by the students. As a result, the New York Police Department officers are now on campus and the process of clearing the encampment is underway. The kids are not all right. The terrorist supporters in particular are not all right. I don't know if you saw this or not, but yesterday, Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska was being given an award by American energy executives. Climate change activists violently stormed the stage and began tackling people on stage. The senator had to be rushed off stage. These climate change protesters, all college students, had been given a warm meeting at the White House several weeks ago. We continue to get lectured by the media about right-wing violence in this country. Ad nauseum now, I point out to you, the last 2 mass assassination, political assassination attempts in this country were by MSNBC viewers. The left is getting more and more violent. The anti-Semitism is on the rise. There is a warning sign here. The alerts are going off. And colleges appear now to be paying attention as this has turned towards really nasty anti-Semitism. It goes beyond the standards of anti-Semitism in the past few decades on college campuses. This is getting really bad. I want to credit Vanderbilt University with really cracking the whip on this stuff in the last few weeks. The Vanderbilt University administration had these students arrested. Some were expelled. Some were suspended. Now Columbia is suspending and expelling students. They suspended Ilhan Omar's daughter. This is an entitled, privileged group of rich kids who think that their views matter. They are ill-informed, they are ignorant, and they are racist. They hate Jews because, they say it's about Israel. If it's about Israel, why are they harassing Jews on campus whose position on Israel they don't know? I was watching a show. It'll go nameless. I really love the show. I don't want to drag those people into it, but the host of the show was interviewing a couple that had worked for the Israeli government, They live in New York. They were diplomats, and they quit because they did not want to work for Benjamin Netanyahu. They don't like him. They're progressives. These people who refuse to work for Benjamin Netanyahu have themselves now been harassed by anti-Semites. These people, they don't like Netanyahu. They don't like the Israeli government. They worked for the Israeli government before. They quit because they didn't want to work for Netanyahu. They've been harassed by anti-Semites. It's weird how all the people who say this isn't about Jews, it's about Israel and Zionism, always seem to harass Jews generally. Now, I don't know about you, but I am unaware of any Jew who walks around and identifies himself as a Zionist or not. I don't know. Maybe there's a secret link, a secret code I'm not aware of. And the anti-Semites, they know how to detect this. Oh, you're not just Jewish, you're a Zionist. We'll tell you, well, apparently every Jew is a Zionist because every Jew's getting attacked by the anti-Semites. And the anti-Semites say, well, it's not about Jews, it's about Zionism. Really? No. It's about Jewishness. They say it's about Zionism and Israel, and for some reason, every Jew is indiscriminately harassed. The universities need to start cracking down on this. The universities must crack down on this. This is getting out of control. The left media is so obsessed with right-wing hate and right-wing anti-Semitism and right-wing white nationalism and right-wing violence. The panic calls are coming from inside your house, left media. It's the Joy Reids of the world peddling anti-Semitism. It's the hosts on MSNBC elevating this anti-Semitism. It's the college professors fanning the flames of anti-Semitism. It's the online left and the Antifa set who are fanning the flames of anti-Semitism. And it's indiscriminate. It's not attacking pro-Israel people, it's attacking Jewish people, and it is a warning sign of something dark and festering in our society, and the only way to stamp it out is to take disciplinary action against these fools on college campuses who feel entitled enough to attack and malign Jews because they're Jewish. You can lecture me all you want about the violence from the right and the harassment of the right and the white nationalists of the right, and there are problems. The TPUSA crowd harboring anti-Semites, giving them passes. People on the right elevating people like Candace Owens and now Tucker Carlson. The Nick Fuenteses of the world. People who harbor not anti-Zionist or anti-Israel sentiment, but anti-Semitic sentiment. They blame the Jews for everything. Tucker Carlson has on a pro-Palestinian pastor who's called for the annihilation of Israel and claims this guy's an objective observer. Candace Owens wants to apologize to Muslims and trots out anti-Semitic tropes about Jews. Nick Fuentes makes jokes about the Holocaust and wishes there was another one and gets elevated. Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's group, elevates a bunch of anti-Zionists and anti-Semites and anti-Jewish people into leadership roles in this organization, platforms them, allows them on stage to spew anti-Semitic nonsense. We got problems on the right, and I'm willing to call it out. Where are the people on the left willing to call out the anti-Semitism of the left? Where are the college presidents willing to denounce the anti-Semites? Where are the Democratic members of Congress willing to denounce the squad? Where are they? I see my side holding itself accountable. I don't see the left doing this. The calls are coming from inside the House. If these college university presidents aren't willing to crack down on it, it's going to get worse. If Harvard University is not willing to crack down on the anti-Semites on campus, it's going to be a festering ground for the next wave of Nazism. The Nazis are going to come with Ivy League degrees. Times to take action now, to clean up your house now. That it got to this point with Columbia University while the university president was testifying before Congress saying, we haven't had these sorts of protests on our campus. Should be embarrassing enough to her that she realizes she's got to crack down on it. I will not hold my breath. Tenure breeds anti-Semitism, it seems, in the Ivy League. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you for being with me today. It's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. I just got a note passed to me from someone in the know who's listening to the show. Says I missed something, and actually I didn't miss it. I didn't even realize it. I hadn't seen it in the news cycle. That Israel took out the strategic response shields, that is the countermeasures and air defense systems at Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, the way this is being interpreted is Israel telling Iran, your Russian Chinese technology is no match to us. We can take out your nuclear development capabilities if we chose to, but we did not, which should be a sign to you that we are retaliating without escalating. In other words, Israel could have last night destroyed Iranian nuclear facilities and chose not to, but took out all of the air defense systems related to those nuclear facilities, showing that if they had wanted to, they could have, which is why Iran, Western thinking, is probably not going to mount an aggressive response to this and is downplaying anything that happened last night, claiming there was no real damage. Iran's got egg on its face today. Now, I know enough about the Iranians to know that somewhere they're funding some terrorists to engage in a terrorist attack as their way to retaliate, and I bet Israel knows Iran is probably planting seeds of terror somewhere to grow and unleash as a way of getting revenge, because Iran is Iran. And Iran is like the scorpion on the back of the frog. And Iran is going to respond with terrorism because it is what Iran does. And we should all be mindful of Iran doing those sorts of things. 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. Do not forget, if you text DATA to 33777, you can not only subscribe to my show notes and get a 15% discount, but the bottom link is to my book. It is on sale right now at Amazon. We've moved up the publication date. It'll be in June. You Shall Be As Gods. You should order a copy of You Shall Be As Gods. We'll talk about that at some point. But right now I need to tell you, if you go to own.oldglorybank.com, you can take an ownership interest in Old Glory Bank. They are bypassing putting this as a publicly traded company. Accredited investors only need apply. This is not an FDIC insured investment. It can go down in price, but if you're interested, go to own.oldglorybank.com, a novel way to grow the bank using conservatives. And if you want a bank account, go to oldglorybank.com in 8 minutes or less. You can fill out the forms, get yourself started at Old Glory Bank. I have an account with Old Glory Bank. I've had one for a while. I love it. There are no fees. They have great online bill pay. They've got great inventive services, and now they're kind of inventing a new way to grow the bank with own.oldglorybank.com. They're a member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. Y'all, I really do like Old Glory Bank, and if you're looking for a bank for you or for your kids, it is a very convenient bank, oldglorybank.com. They're good people. Your bank accounts don't get wiped out with bank fees. They're just good people at oldglorybank.com. You get an account in 8 minutes or less online. Hello there. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I'm delighted to take your calls today. As always, you can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Subscribe to the show notes, among other things. Let's go to the phones. Howard, you're going to be up first. Welcome.
Hey, Eric. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Just a question for you. If Trump or Biden was to win the election, but the Republicans were to keep the House and expand upon it and take back over the Senate, what would be the political ramifications of that?
Oh, okay. So Biden wins the presidency, the GOP takes the House and Senate. So
Right.
there would be a number of them. So number one, a gridlock, which isn't a bad thing. Actually, the only time the Republicans and Democrats in Washington have ever cut the actual size and scope of the federal government is when the Democrats controlled the White House and the Republicans controlled Congress. You got sequestration with Obama. You got the balanced budget amendment the balanced budget with Bill Clinton. So financially, might actually not be a bad thing. However, the executive branch and the regulators and the bureaucracy could run roughshod over everyone. So, for example, there's a big story today that the Biden administration has blocked out a massive swath of American land prohibiting drilling and oil exploration. That's going to negatively affect us. The Biden administration is also today redefining Title IX, claiming essentially that boys can identify as girls, and Title IX shall be interpreted not based on sex, but based on gender identity. And they could get away with stuff like that because for Congress to change it, it would have to go through the House and the Senate with a 60-vote threshold in the Senate for the filibuster in most cases. So the bureaucrats could still run amok if Biden controlled the White House. But the Republicans in the Senate could block judges, and they could block other radical appointees. They could hold hearings. They could be probative. They could ask questions. They could hold people's feet to the fire. So there are ways that the Republicans could push back. And also, there are ways legislatively that some regulations can be repealed without a filibuster. And the Republicans would also have reconciliation where they could pass stuff by majority vote. But Biden wields the veto pen if he's president of the United States. Better to have a Republican in the White House and a Republican-controlled Congress, which, by the way, just so you know, we're going to talk about that at the gathering in August. We're going to have a lot of the good candidates there and leaders there to make the case for unifying the divisions of the party headed into November. Now, I want to switch gears here. So this happens inevitably when I do events. I have someone come up, as happened last night at Wekiva here in Orlando. Guy comes up at the end and mentions another radio show host and says, don't you think we need to, essentially say, don't you think we need to be like the left? Don't you think we need to fight like the left? Don't you, essentially, as people on the right these days say, don't you know what time it is? I get this a lot, and there are some conservative radio show hosts who throw chum in the water, get you mad, and say you gotta go fight. You gotta go get in their face. You gotta do like Obama said, take a gun to a knife fight. Call them out. Be angry and aggressive. And this plays to a segment of the base because they're not really telling you the full story. And if you're a long-time listener to this program, I try to give you all the facts so you can think for yourself. It's one reason we push out the show notes every day, so you can literally see every article I'm going to talk about on the show. You can read it for yourself, process it for yourself, and I don't have to tell you what to think about it. There is in the conservative talk radio space and in the conservative movement now, I think a number of broadcasters who they're in it to whip you into flames and keep you coming back for more anxiety. They're not really offering you solutions. They're offering you victimization. So you can be the aggrieved victim and blame the left and get mad at the left. And I don't find that thoughtful. I don't find that helpful. I don't think telling you that the other side is the problem. And like, for example, I got good friends who use words like the uniparty and stuff like that in Washington. And it's a great little nutshell to try to encapsulate stuff, but it's really more complicated than that. They're trying to dumb down a situation and get you fired up. I just think that there's a level of hyper online nonsense on the right and the way there has been on the left. And the right is in danger of alienating itself from the vast array of voters out there who might come to them. And so what I told this guy last night who came up, said this other radio show says, essentially, we need to fight. It's don't you know what time it is? We got to fight now. Yes, but don't fight for the sake of fighting. And this is what seems to be lost in translation. The number of people out there who just want to fight for the sake of fighting. Why? Why fight for the sake of fighting? Why storm the well-armed ramparts when you know you're going to die? I swear to you, there's something within the conservative movement right now where they want to die on every hill. You know what? You're just going to die. Not every hill is a hill to die on, and yet everybody on the right these days. Every hill's a hill to die. Let's die today on this. Let's die tomorrow on that. Let's die again this afternoon on something else. You're just dead everywhere. No strategy. The data. Let's talk about the data. We're talking about the focus grouping. We're talking about the polling. But more importantly, we're talking about the exit polling, and we're talking about our daily lives with people who aren't politically engaged and don't see eye to eye with you maybe politically. Do you know what all the data shows? Feel free to dismiss the polling, but don't dismiss the focus groups with these voters. And if you dismiss the focus groups, don't dismiss the exit polling. The only way for you to be in disbelief in this and to be ignorant of this is to just dismiss every set of data out there. The polling, the exit polling, the focus grouping, the interactions with people in your community. People believe the left is bat crap crazy at this point. They're tired of the angry wokes. They're tired of the defund police. They're tired of the progressive prosecutors. They're tired of the left being so nasty. The average American does not want to be on the side of the awfuls, the affluent, white, female urban liberals. They do not want to be on the side of Karen. No offense, Karen. You know what I mean. I'm trying to do the nutshell for people so they understand. They don't. The average American doesn't want to be on the side of the left these days. The women in comfortable shoes marching in the streets, wearing their pink hats that are supposed to look like their female body part. People are rejecting that. The problem is these guys on talk radio and these guys on social media who are saying you gotta fight the left, you gotta do what the left does, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth sort of stuff. They're essentially telling you to behave like the people that the American voters are rejecting. Instead of being a brain biblical donkey like the left, maybe be the nice guy. Maybe offer a smile instead of a scowl. Maybe don't be the obsessive babbler of online speak like the wokes. The right-wing anti-wokes are becoming like the left-wing wokes, and people are just tired of it. Most people do not care about your intramural party fight. And it seems like more and more people on the right are getting so online. They're going down these rabbit holes online. They're getting in bubbles just as bad as the left. And they're losing the ability to relate to the average middle-class voter who just wants to put food on the table, watch some sports, and go to bed. Newt Gingrich is out. His quote, "You can't govern by shooting yourself in the head every day." Now, Gingrich was always way more moderate than people want to give him credit for. In fact, during the coup attempt in Gingrich in 98, it was the moderates who were trying to save him. It was the conservatives who intended to oust him. Gingrich, who claimed the gavel in 1995 after leading Republicans to their first majority in the House in nearly 40 years, is a somewhat surprising ally for Mike Johnson. As a junior member of the House, Gingrich pioneered the style of confrontational conservatism and bare-knuckled partisan brawling that today's Republican hardliners, led by Florida Representative Matt Gaetz, have seemingly made their signature. But times have changed, Gingrich said this week when I called him to ask whether he had any advice for Johnson. When a conservative like Johnson in the Speaker's chair, Gingrich told me it's time for Republicans to shut up and fall in line. The truth is, I would blame head-on the people who are acting like selfish idiots, Gaetz said, name-checking Gaetz. Having faced down his own Republican-led coup attempt in 97, Gingrich urged Johnson to hold his ground and pass the foreign aid packages, even if it ultimately cost him the speakership. Brave men die but once. A coward dies 100 deaths. Gingrich, in this article with Politico, this interview with Politico, he name-checks Matt Gaetz. He goes after Marjorie Taylor Greene. I got to tell you that I think Gingrich is right on this. That this concept, we've got to fight, we're against the uniparty. You guys who say you're against the uniparty, you're the establishment. You support Donald Trump, right? Who's the leader of the Republican Party? Donald Trump. You're the establishment. You're the established. You don't like the title. You run from the title. You want to be the outsider. You want to be brave fighting the uniparty, but you're in the bubble. And you're not offering a compelling message to the voters. I want to win in November. Joe Biden and his bureaucrats are banning dishwashers. They're banning dryers. They're banning refrigerators. They're banning water heaters. They're banning the internal combustion engine. They banned the light bulb. They're driving up costs of the middle class. They're driving up costs of the working class. They're using the money of working class taxpayers to bail out college kids who are making $300,000 a year, and they're redefining Title IX to say it's not sex, it's gender identity that matters, so boys can go in girls' locker rooms and boys can compete for girls' scholarships. And you people are out there saying, well, the uniparty. Nobody knows what the hell the uniparty is. Get offline. Go touch some grass. You want to be the brave biblical donkey against the left? Nobody likes you either. Be nice, be kind, be engaged in your community. Stop using online wonky talk that nobody understands because you heard it online and you think it's cutesy, and talk radio show host uses it, so you parrot them. You're just an ape aping what everybody else has said. Start thinking for yourself and touch some grass. Go meet your neighbors. Tell them that, did you know that Joe Biden thinks boys can get girls sports now and boys should be eligible for girls scholarships? Because I assure you they don't like it, but instead you're talking about the uniparty fight in Ukraine, which guess what? Your neighbor supports fighting for Ukraine and giving the bullets so their sons don't go to war. Get out of the echo chamber bubble online and touch some grass and meet your neighbors and stop behaving like the left. People don't like the left. They're not going to like you either. If you make a plausible case with a path to victory that sounds nice and kind and doesn't sound like a brain biblical donkey, you're going to win in November. I want to win in November. I want to stop Joe Biden. I want to stop the left. But I know the secret to stopping the left is not to offer an alternative to the left that acts like the left, but an alternative to the left that doesn't act like the left. And how do you not act like the left? You don't be crazy. You don't use the echo chamber buzzwords of the hyper online right that nobody knows what the hell you're talking about. Uniparty, is that like a connected eyebrow? No. Go touch some grass, people. If you're listening to people online or on radio telling you we got to fight, we got to be in their face, we got to do to them what they do to us, you're listening to someone who wants to lose so he can nurse your victimhood and make you angry and keep you on listening to the show and let him tell you how you're a victim. No, you're not a victim. That is a choice to be a victim. It is your choice. It is your choice to be angry. It is your choice to fight back with the left the way they fight you. It is a choice to do that. And that is a choice to lose. I want to win. And the way you win is you offer a pleasant alternative that says, hey, yes, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, but we're not actually crazy. It's just her. As opposed to we've mainlined her crazy into the party. Please stop. Please be relatable to normal people and act like it. Now, if you want to be relatable businessmen, go to Stamps.com, learn how to save some money. You can go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, put in Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You can start saving money today. You can save money at Stamps.com and ship your packages through their mobile interface. All you need is your cell phone or laptop, a printer to print the labels. You can arrange pickup at your home or office from Stamps.com. Stamps.com, click the microphone, put in my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. You'll get a free digital scale. You'll get some free postage. You'll start saving. And y'all, there's no long-term commitment. There's no contract to sign. You can cancel at any time. You won't have to. If you ship a lot of stuff, Stamps.com can really help you save. I use them almost on a weekly basis right now, sending stuff out to different radio stations and listeners, stuff like that. Can print my package labels, put them on, arrange pickup at the office. I never have to go stand in line. In other words, I don't have to go see people. Stamps.com, they have them come to me, and you get up to 89% off post office and UPS rates. Stamps.com, click the microphone, put in my name, Eric, get shipping and saving today. There's some breaking news happening. I've got to bring you, unfortunately. It just happened live on television. A man outside the courthouse in New York City, where Donald Trump is, set himself on fire. He is currently being extinguished by the New York Police Department, who were struggling to get through barriers to put out the flames. It happened live on CNN. They weren't sure what was happening. They thought it was an active shooter at first. The reporter began scrambling, thinking an active shooter was outside the courthouse, and realized it was actually a man setting himself on fire. outside the courthouse. We don't know anything about it. We don't know who it was, but it absolutely happened live on television in the middle of a conversation on CNN. The man standing behind the anchor and strikes up in flames, and the police try to get to him, but there are major barricades blocking the path, and they had to get fire extinguishers to get to him. I'll keep you posted on this, but this is breaking news happening right now. Someone just set himself on fire. It was eyewitnesses say a man outside the courthouse where Donald Trump's trial is going on, setting himself on fire. Sadly, there is video that was caught live on television. We don't know if it was connected to the trial or someone else going where the cameras were. We don't know what they were protesting. We just know that it just happened live on television. Fox News at first thought a fire had been set. When they realized it was a person, they cut away. CNN turned the cameras to him and then cut away once they really recognized the gravity of the situation. It happened behind the anchor at CNN. Gosh, people have lost their minds.